Good morning, friends. Today we are going to study about the second one, that is the peripheral nervous system. That is the peripheral nervous system. PNS, it is called as PNS, peripheral nervous system. The first one is central nervous system. The central nervous system, which consists of brain and spinal cord. The central nervous system CNS consists of brain. The brain is divided into forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. The forebrain, cerebrum and diencephalon. Midbrain, cerebral peduncles, corpora quadrigenea and other things. Hindbrain, cerebellum, pons varolii, medulla oblongata and spinal cord. And the spinal cord you have studied already. Now coming to the second one, that is the peripheral nervous system PNS. The PNS is formed by the nerves and ganglions that are associated with the brain and spinal cord. It is made up of nerves and ganglions which are associated with brain and the spinal cord. The nerves are associated with brain and spinal cord. There are two types of nerve fibers present in the peripheral nervous system. The first one is the cranial nerve and the second one is the spinal nerves. The cranial nerves and the spinal nerves are present in the peripheral nervous system. The cranial nerves, coming to the cranial nerves, the nerves that are attached to the brain are called cranial nerves. The cranium is nothing but the brain cavity, the brain and the skull cavity, that is the cranial cavity. So cranium is nothing but the brain. The brain which has the nerves are called cranial nerves. The cranial nerves are attached to the brain, which are primarily responsible for sensory and motor functions of head and neck. Sensory and motor functions of head and neck are carried out by the cranial nerves. The cranial nerves are bundles of neurons that innervate muscles or glands and carry impulses from sensory areas. The cranial nerves are nothing but they are the bundle of neurons that are innervated muscles that innervate the muscles or glands and carry impulses from sensory areas. They are called as cranial nerves because they emerge through foramen or fissures of the cranium. They come out from the cranium, hence they are called as cranial nerves. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves which arise from brain and brain stem. There are 12 pairs. Cranial nerves are 12 pairs. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves which arise from the brain and the brain stem. Numerically, they are numbered from CN1. They are numbered from CN Roman 1 to CN 12, 10, 11, 12. CN1 to CN12. Cranial nerve number 1 to cranial number 12 using Roman numericals. Here they use the Roman numericals, not the English numericals. English numericals are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are English numericals and these are not used here. They are used by Romans. This is a Roman one. Roman number CN1 to CN12. That is the Roman numerical. The CN1 is olfactory nerve. 12 cranial nerves ಇದಾವೆ. ಆ 12 cranial nerves ಯಾವುವು ಎಂಬುದಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ಅದು. So you can follow up the notes. ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದೀನಿ. What are the functions of nerves also I have written. So the first one is now today I am going to explain the systems, those nerves, cranial nerves. Number 1, CN1 is olfactory nerve which concerned with the sense of smell or olfactory. Second one is the CN2, that is optic nerve concerned with the sense of vision. Third one is oculomotoral nerve, that is CN3, motor to muscles which move the eyeball. Motor muscles to the eyes, supply to the eyes, which move the eyeball, the third one. Now CN4 is the trochlear nerve which supplies superior oblique muscles of eyeball, superior oblique muscles of the eyeball. Now CN5 is trigeminal nerve with 3 roots, ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular. 3 roots are there which supply to the buccal cavity. The sixth one is abducent nerve supply to lateral rectus muscles of the eyeball. Facial nerve, that is the CN7, 6 is over abducent, and CN7 is a facial nerve supplying to muscles of facial expressions. CN8 is vestibulocochlear nerve concerned with balance and hearing. CN9 is glossopharyngeal nerve supplying to tongue and pharynx. CN10 is vagus nerve supplying to neck, thorax and abdomen. CN11 is accessory nerve which supplies to various nerve assistant to vagus, which is an assistant to the vagus nerve. That is the 10th one. Vagus is 10th. So 11th is accessory. 12th is hypoglossal nerve supplied to the muscles of tongue present beneath the tongue, which is present beneath the tongue. Now these 12 pairs of nerves are called cranial nerves which come out from the cranium. They are numbered numerically, they are numbered by Roman method, that is CN1 to CN12. Coming to the spinal nerves, the spinal nerves that are attached to spinal cord are called spinal nerves. The nerves which are attached to the spinal cord, it means the nerves they come out from which are attached to the spinal cord, which contain both sensory and motor fibers that pass out between vertebrae to trunk, arms and legs. All the spinal nerves are combined sensory and motor axons that arise from separate two nerve roots. The sensory axons enter the spinal cord as a dorsal root and motor fibers emerge as the ventral nerve root. The dorsal root ganglion for each nerve is an enlargement of spinal nerve. I have explained all these things. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. There are 31 pairs. The spinal nerves are 31 pairs. 31 pairs of spinal nerves that arise from spinal cord, and they are named and grouped according to the vertebrae with which they are associated. They are named and grouped according to the vertebrae with which they are associated. They are 8 cranials. They are 1, 8 cranials, that is C1 to C8, then 12 thoracic, T1 to T12, then third 5 lumbar, L1 to L5, then 5 sacral, S1 to S5, then fifth one is 1 coccygeal, that is CO, coccygeal. So there are 31 pairs of spinal nerves which are named after the vertebrae from which they arise or they are associated with. So 8 are cranials, 12 are thoracic, 5 are lumbar, 5 sacral, and 1 coccygeal. There are only 7 cervical vertebrae here. There are only 7 cervical vertebrae. Cranials have 7 cervical vertebrae, but there are 8 pairs of cervical. This is not cranial, cervical. So cervical C1 to C8. Eight cervical vertebrae, but there are only 7 cervical vertebrae, but there are 8 pairs of cervical spinal nerves, because the first pair leaves the spinal cord between occipital bone and the atlas bone. The first one leaves the spinal cord between occipital and atlas bone. Hence there is one pair is extra. Hence there is one pair is extra here. Actually there are only 7 cervical vertebrae, but there are 8 pairs of spinal nerves. The one is extra because it arises from the occipital vertebrae, in between the occipital vertebrae and the atlas vertebrae. That is the first pair, and it is extra one. The spinal nerve immediately after emerging from intervertebral foramen of vertebrae divide into 2 branches called rami, a posterior and anterior ramis. The posterior rami passes backwards and divides into branches to supply skin and muscles of the posterior side of head, neck and trunk. The anterior rami unite near their origin to form large masses of nerves called plexus. Plexus, P-L-E-X-U-S-E-S, plexus. They are the large masses of nerves. The anterior rami unite near their origins to form nerve fibers to form the the anterior rami unite near the origin to form large masses of nerves called plexus. Here, nerve fibers are regrouped and rearranged before proceeding to supply skin, bones, muscles, and joints. In the plexus, which are nothing but the large masses of anterior rami, the nerve fibers are regrouped and rearranged before proceeding to supply skin, bones, muscles, and joints. Hence, these structures will get nerve supply from more than one spinal nerve. In the thoracic region, the anterior rami do not form plexus. T2 to T12 11 nerves supply to ribs of thoracic cavity in intercostal muscles. In the thoracic region, the anterior rami, they do not form the plexus, and the 11 nerves, they directly supply to the intercostal muscles. Now, coming to the next point, there are 5 long plexus. There are 5 long plexus of mixed nerves formed on each side of the vertebral column. They are cervical plexus, then brachial, third one lumbar, fourth one sacral, then fifth one is coccygeal. So there are 5 plexus or group of nerves to form a single bundle that is called as flux. The anterior rami, it forms a plexus in the 5 regions, that is cervical flux. There are 5 fluxes. Cervical region has cervical flux. Brachial region has the brachial flux. The lumbar region has lumbar flux. The sacral region has sacral flux, and the coccygeal region has the coccygeal flux. Totally, there are 5 fluxes present in the spinal nerves. Now, coming to the last one, that is the third, autonomic nervous system. The third one is autonomic nervous system, ANS. Autonomic nervous system, which consists of sympathetic, and parasympathetic nerves. Sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves are present in the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system consists of sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves. The first point, the autonomic nervous system is also called as involuntary nervous system. It is also called involuntary nervous system, which controls the movement of involuntary muscles and secretions of the gland. The nerves, they control the involuntary muscles movement and the secretions of the different endocrine glands. It is a part of nervous system that controls the visceral functions of the body such as arterial pressure, gastrointestinal movements and secretions, urinary bladder, emptying, sweating, body temperature also. It also controls the autonomic nervous system also controls the arterial pressure, gastrointestinal movements and secretions, urinary bladder emptying, sweating and body temperatures. So all these movements of all these organs are controlled by sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves of autonomic nervous system. The ANS is activated mainly by centers located in spinal cord. The ANS, the nerves of ANS are activated by centers located in the spinal cord, brain stem, that is the midbrain, pons and medulla, hypothalamus and cerebrum. So the cerebrum, hypothalamus, brain stem and the spinal cord contain the centers which activate the ANS. The sensory signals from the visceral region enter the above mentioned centers and these centers in turn transmit appropriate reflexes backward to visceral organs to control their activities through ANS. The ANS consists of a double set of nerves called first one sympathetic and the second one is the parasympathetic, which supply the involuntary muscles of the visceral organs and the skin. Coming to the sympathetic nerve fiber, they are thoracolumbar outflows. The sympathetic nerve arises from a double chain of ganglion collection of nerve cells located on one each side of vertebral column, from which the nerves extend to different parts of the organs. The sympathetic system is in between spinal segments and thoracic region, that is from T1 and extend up to lumbar level, that is L2. Hence, it is also called thoracico-lumbar outflow. The sympathetic pathway is composed of two fibers. They are preganglionic nerves and postganglionic nerves. The sympathetic pathway is composed of two fibers, one preganglionic, second one is the postganglionic. The cell body of preganglionic neuron lies in the lateral horn of gray matter of spinal cord and its fibers pass through the ventral nerve root into the spinal nerve. Immediately after the spinal nerve leaves the spinal cord, the preganglionic sympathetic fiber leaves the nerve and pass through into a ganglion of sympathetic chain. Acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter at sympathetic ganglion. The cell body of postganglionic nerve lies in the sympathetic chain ganglion and terminates in the organ or tissue, and noradrenaline, that is norepinephrine, is a neurotransmitter at postganglionic neuron. Distribution of sympathetic nerve is as follows: T1 head, T2 neck, T3 to T6 thorax, sympathetic, T1 head, T2 neck, and T3 to T6, that is thorax, T7 to T11, it is abdomen, then the fifth one is T12 plus L1, L2 to legs. So from T1 to T12 and L1, L2 include the sympathetic nervous part. So this part is distributed like this. Coming to the parasympathetic, that is craniosacral outflow. The parasympathetic fibers originate in the central nervous system through cranial nerves 3rd, 7th, 9th and 10th and through S2, S3 and S4. They arise, parasympathetic, that arise from 3rd, 7th, 9th and 10th cranial nerve and through S2, S3 and S4 sacral nerves. So these parasympathetic nerves arise from 3rd, 7th, 9th and 10th cranial nerves and S2, S3, S4 sacral nerves. They arise from the cranial nerves. So they are called as craniosacral outflow. It is called as craniosacral outflow. About 75% of all sympathetic nerves are in the vagus nerves. The main one is vagus. The main parasympathetic nerve is the vagus. The distribution of parasympathetic nerve is as follows. The vagus nerve distributes to heart, lungs, esophagus, stomach, small and large intestine, liver, gallbladder and pancreas. The 3rd cranial nerve supply to sphincter, papillae and ciliary muscles of eye. 7th cranial nerve, lacrimal, nasal, submandibular and sublingual glands. 9th cranial nerve to parotid glands. The sacral parasympathetic nerves, that is S2, S3 and S4, they supply to pelvic region, descending column of rectum, urinary bladder, descending column, rectum, urinary bladder, uterus and external genital organs. Coming to the functions of autonomic nervous system, the two sets of nerves, sympathetic and parasympathetic, oppose each other in action. These sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves, they are opposite in action. They have the functions which is opposite to each other. The sympathetic nerves are stimulated by emotions like fear, excitement and anger. They make the heart beat fast and deeper breathing, rise in blood pressure and the hair stands erect. There will be sweating also. When the sympathetic nerves are activated, the heartbeat becomes fast, the breathing becomes deep and fast, it rises the blood pressure, and the hair stands erect, and sweating also comes. At this time, digestion is slowed down as the blood is diverted towards muscles to prepare for fight. The parasympathetic nerves are in control during normal quiet living. The parasympathetic nerves are in control during normal quiet living. They slow down the heartbeat and respiration and stimulate digestion and excretion, which is opposite to the function of sympathetic nerves. It slows down the heartbeat, respiration, and stimulates the digestion and excretion. So all these are the functions of autonomic nervous system. The nervous system consists of central nervous system, that is CNS, the peripheral nervous system, that is PNS, and the autonomic nervous system, that is ANS. So the central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system consists of cranial and spinal nerves. The autonomic nervous system consists of sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves. So I have completed the nervous system also, in which we have learned about the three parts of the nervous system and the nervous tissue, which is made up of neurons and neuroglia. Detailed we have studied about the nervous tissue and the different parts of the nervous system, that is the brain and the spinal cord and the peripheral nervous system and autonomic nervous system. So this ends the nervous system. Thank you very much.